Hey there, this is Middle-Aged Nerd Seeks Genre. I'm Cody. Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we're going to be doing a book review of Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. So when it comes to fantasy, I'm like a little bit of a noob. I don't read fantasy as much as I read other genres, but I was really eager to get my hands on this book by Rebecca Roanhorse, and I was not disappointed in the least. So Black Sun takes place in a world that was inspired by the pre-Columbian Americas, and it essentially focuses on three main figures. You've got Serapio, who is a young boy who was blinded, and he may or may not be a god. You've got Ziala, who is a teak sailor, and she is in charge of making sure that Serapio gets to the city of Tova in time for the convergence, which in this world is sort of like the highest of holy days. And you've got Naranpa, who is a sun priest and the leader of this world. Now, she was lowborn, so there's some dissension about her being exalted to this particular position, and there's dissension in the ranks around her. So there may be these forces around her that she's starting to realize want to get her out of her position. So Black Sun is the story of these three figures as they are pulled together by fate and machinations, and what happens to them when they finally all do come together. So Black Sun has a lot going on. There's palace intrigue, you got adventure on the high seas, there's romance, there's sex, there's trips to seedy underground communities with criminals and bandits, kind of like the mafia. There's a lot going on. You've got everything in this book. And thankfully, Roanhorse roots all of this in character. So you're not just getting plot for the sake of plot. All of the moves that all these characters make are rooted in their jealousies, their desires, their flaws. So you're getting an emotional ride along with this high fantasy adventure. It's also a really rich world. Roanhorse offers us this fully fleshed out world that feels very lived in and very authentic. It's detailed, really strong world building. And that's really good because this is the first book in a trilogy. So, you want to make sure if we're going to spend 3 books here, you want to make sure that it feels like the real deal. And it absolutely does. I'm looking forward to the next 2 books a lot and spending more time in this world with these characters. I also really want to shout out the queer representation in this book. Roanhorse gives us non-binary characters, she gives us pansexual characters, there's trans representation, and that's really cool to see. What I liked about the way the queer characters and the queer identities were represented in this book, their queerness isn't the purpose for them to be in the book. Their stories are not about their queerness. They get to be other things. They get to be assassins. They get to be sea captains. They get to be badass. And that is really cool queer representation. A lot of times in stories, they add queer folks and there's either it's all about their queerness and that's like the only point they serve in the story, or it's kind of about their queerness connected to trauma and what happens to them that's terrible because of their queerness. You don't get any of that in Black Sun. They just exist in this world, and they're part of the narrative in ways that go above and beyond their queerness, but it's really cool to see. And special shout out to the use of pronouns for the non-binary characters. Really cool. I love that a lot. It was great to see. And as a queer person, I really appreciated getting to see my larger community reflected in a book as cool as Black Sun. So, would I recommend this book? 100%. This book is a lot of fun. I think if high fantasy is something that you're rather new to, kind of like me, I haven't read a ton of it, this is a good entry point. It's accessible without being simple. It's a rich world with a cool story being told, but it isn't like overindulgent. It isn't like too complicated and too filled with fantasy tropes. It's a good entry point if you're new to high fantasy. And Roanhorse is a writer that I respect a ton, and I'm looking forward to the next books in this trilogy. Black Sun was a great start, and I'm eager for more. As always, thank you for supporting the channel. If you like what's going on here, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment if you've read Black Sun. Let me know that you've read it and tell me what you think about it. I'd love to chat more about the book. And, as always, looking forward to connecting with more of you out there in the booktube world. And book lovers in general. You don't have to be a booktuber. Just if you like books, you'll say hey. I will see you all in the next video. Have a good one.